The video looked clean enough to ruin me. At 6:42 p.m., the front door unlocked with Maya's code. The camera above reception caught her walking in, one hand on her phone, gym bag on her shoulder. At 6:48, the weight room camera showed her near the cable machine. At 6:51, the machine snapped. The official clip was only 12 seconds long. Metal jumped. Maya dropped out of frame. Two members turned their heads at the same time. It looked simple. A worn pulley failed during use. She had entered alone. The access log showed entry, but no exit. The alarm system stayed quiet. The emergency sensor never triggered. That last part bothered me least at first. Sensors fail. Doors stick. People panic and forget what they touched. I had managed that gym for 6 years. I knew how ordinary failures looked before they became paperwork. But then I watched the clip again. The sound of the snap came before the cable moved. Not by much, less than a second. Just enough to make the footage feel right and the room feel wrong. By 7:30, the gym had turned quiet and bright. The evening rush was gone. Treadmills blinked in neat rows. Spray bottles stood where members had left them. I locked the front desk drawer and opened the incident folder. My name was on the maintenance checklist. That was the part nobody said first. The regional office called it a review. The insurer called it a preliminary inquiry. I knew what both words meant. Maya had been taken to urgent care. The cable had cut across her shoulder and neck, not deep enough to kill her, but close enough to change the room. The machine had passed inspection 4 days earlier. I remembered signing the sheet. A cable machine looks simple from outside. Plates, pulleys, handles, a steel frame, but it fails in boring ways before it fails loudly. Frayed cable, loose stop, worn bearing, bad user adjustment. Any one of those could become my problem. So the first version made sense. Maya came in after work. She used a damaged machine. It failed before anyone could react. That was ugly, but ordinary. And ordinary was something I could survive. The assistant manager, Jordan, printed the access report. He set it beside the maintenance sheet without speaking. Maya's entry was there in black text. Door 1. 6:42:08 p.m. No exit followed. That also made sense. After an injury, paramedics sometimes use the side door. Staff propped doors. People crossed behind responders. Logs became messy after a room turned urgent. The front camera showed the same basic story. Maya entered alone. No one followed close behind. The lobby was empty except for a towel cart and the desk monitor. Jordan leaned against the counter. Bad cable, he said. I wanted him to be right. We pulled the machine out of service and tied red tape across the handles. I photographed the pulley, the cable, the weight stack, the broken end. The fray looked old, not dramatic, not suspicious. Just thin strands curling from black rubber. A cable does not need to look destroyed to fail. One broken strand makes room for another. Load finds the weak place. Repetition does the rest. That explanation held together. It gave everyone a path. Replace the cable. File the report. Apologize to Maya. Take the blame quietly. For 10 minutes, the case was ugly but stable. I exported the clip for the insurer. That was when the first small thing moved. The file name looked normal. Camera 3. Weight room. Incident window. But the metadata line showed 6:39 p.m. I stared at it longer than I wanted to. The injury happened at 6:51. The access log placed Maya inside at 6:42. A file created at 6:39 should not contain either moment. Jordan said the server clock was probably wrong. That was believable. Small businesses treat clocks like decorations. Cameras drift, routers restart. Daylight saving changes leave strange fingerprints. A wrong timestamp did not clear anyone. It usually made the paperwork worse. I opened 3 more clips from that evening. Reception was correct. The back hallway was correct. The parking lot camera was off by only 2 seconds. Camera 3 was 12 minutes early. Only camera 3. That did not break the cable theory. Not yet, but it changed the room around it. If the one camera showing the injury kept different time, then the cleanest proof in the folder was not clean anymore. I watched the wider recording without audio. That made the people easier to read. At first, their reactions supported the report. Maya reached for the handle. The cable machine jerked. 2 members near the dumbbell rack turned sharply. Jordan pointed at the screen. There. They heard it. I let the clip run. The first man froze with a dumbbell in one hand. The second stepped backward before looking toward Maya. Neither moved like they had seen the cable snap. They moved like something behind them had changed. That difference mattered. When a machine fails in front of people, their eyes usually go first. Their bodies follow. Here, their shoulders tightened before their heads turned. It was small. It was also not panic. I rewound the clip and watched Maya. She did not flinch before the cable moved. She kept her grip steady. She did not look toward the ceiling, the door, or the mirrors. If a sharp sound happened before the failure, she should have reacted too, but she did not. The room looked like it heard one event. The video showed another. For the first time, the official version had a seam. I almost dismissed it as shock. People do not react cleanly under stress. They hesitate. They look the wrong way. They copy the nearest person before they understand anything. That explanation helped the official version. The two members could have heard metal, seen Maya fall, and reacted in a messy order. Fear does not make neat witnesses. But behavior still has patterns. Sudden sound usually pulls the body before thought arrives. Shoulders rise, hands pause, eyes search for the source. It happens because the brain treats fast noise as possible danger. That reflex is old. It does not wait for a person to understand the sound. So I watched the dumbbell again. The first man's hand stopped before his eyes moved. The second member leaned away from the back wall. Neither looked at Maya until after the cable dropped. They were reacting to a sound, but not to the place where the injury happened. I wrote that down and felt stupid doing it. Sound source uncertain. It looked too small for an incident report. Then I looked at the machine again. If the sound that startled them came from somewhere else, the visible snap might not be the first failure. It might be the second thing the room showed us. And if that was true, the cable was no longer the whole story. I built a timeline on receipt paper. 6:54:03, the first member opened the side door. The sequence looked tight. A person could enter, warm up briefly, adjust the machine, and get hurt within 9 minutes. Nothing about that was impossible. I tried to keep it that way. Then I checked the alarm panel. The emergency pendant near the cable area had not transmitted. The crash sensor near the mirror wall had not transmitted. The side door showed open after the call, not before. That supported the report too. No alarm meant nobody hit the panic button. No early door opening meant nobody fled. The event stayed inside the room. But the 911 call created a problem. Jordan said he called after a member yelled. On the video, nobody reached the desk before 6:52. I walked from the cable machine to reception. Fast walk, no running, 27 seconds. Then I ran it, 12 seconds. The timeline had room for fear. It did not have room for silence. I called Jordan back into the office. He stood by the printer and rubbed his thumb along the edge of his keys. I heard shouting, he said. Then I called. That still could be true. After an accident, time stretches. People remember the loudest part first. They place their own action closer to the danger because guilt pulls the memory forward. A minute can feel like 10 seconds. 10 seconds can vanish completely. That is why timelines cannot rest on memory alone. They need anchors. A phone call is an anchor. A door sensor is an anchor. A camera frame is an anchor, even when the clock is ugly. Jordan's call was fixed by the phone system. The side door was fixed by the alarm panel. The weight room video was less fixed, but the people inside still moved in order. Nobody left the weight room before the call. Nobody reached the desk before the call. So Jordan could not have heard a member shout at reception. He had heard something else, or he had heard it earlier. I looked through the glass toward the weight room. The red tape on the machine hung still. A bad cable could explain the injury. It could not explain why the first call seemed to come from the wrong moment. The official version lost its clock. The next trace came from the thing that had stayed silent. Our security dashboard kept a device health log. Most managers never opened it. It was a gray page of pings, battery warnings, and missed check-ins. Useful only when something failed quietly. The emergency pendant near the cable area showed green. Online at 6:40. Online at 6:45. Online at 6:50. Then a gap. No alarm, no low battery, no tamper alert. Just 5 missing minutes, beginning at 6:51. That seemed easy to explain. Wireless devices drop off. Gyms are bad for signals. Metal racks, mirrors, bodies, and cheap routers can make a clean room act messy. I wanted that answer. Then I checked the mirror wall crash sensor. Same gap, 5 minutes. Then the air quality monitor near the stretching mats. Same gap. 3 separate devices had gone quiet together. Not before the accident. Not during closing. At the exact minute, the cable failed. The dashboard did not show panic. It showed a small pocket of silence. And silence, in a system built to shout, was not nothing anymore. I called the installer who had mounted the sensors. He answered from a van with traffic behind him. Could 3 devices drop together, I asked. Sure, he said, if the hub drops. That made the first explanation stronger. One hub could lose power. One router could miss traffic. One network hiccup could make 3 devices disappear without any human cause. Then he asked which devices. I read them off. He went quiet for 2 seconds. They don't use the same path, he said. The pendant talked to a receiver above the weight room. The crash sensor used a different relay near the office. The air monitor stored its own readings before uploading. People think a dashboard shows one system. In reality, it shows several small systems pretending to be one. That is why matching silence matters. A shared outage points to the network. Separate outages point to the room. Something had made 3 independent devices stop reporting at the same time. Not because they all failed, because the conditions around them changed. I looked back at the weight room camera. It still showed the cable snapping, but now the video was only one witness. The quiet devices had become witnesses too, and all of them had gone silent at the worst possible second. I returned to the weight room after closing. The lights clicked on in sections. Mirrors brightened. Steel frames appeared one by one. The broken machine stood behind red tape, smaller than it looked on camera. I stood where Maya had stood. Then I stood where the two members had turned. Their backs faced the mirror wall. Not the machine, not the front desk. The wall. I clapped once. The sound hit the mirrors and came back sharp. I dropped a weight handle onto the rubber floor. The room answered from several places at once. That was the part cameras missed. A camera records the stage. It does not know where sound begins. A flat image can make two events look connected because they happen close together. People think video removes doubt. In reality, video removes only some doubt. It shows what the lens can see. It does not show pressure waves, echoes, or what happened outside the frame. The members had reacted toward the wall. Jordan had called before anyone reached him. 3 devices had stopped reporting together. The visible cable failure still mattered, but it no longer looked like the first event. It looked like a result. Something had changed the room before Maya ever fell. I needed one more anchor. Not memory, not opinion. Something the room had kept. The air monitor had stored local data during the gap. It had not uploaded, but it had still been measuring. I opened the raw file. Most lines were boring. Temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, particle count. Then at 6:50:44, the particle count jumped. Not slowly, instantly. At 6:50:45, the microphone level spiked inside the monitor housing. At 6:50:46, the monitor stopped reporting. 15 seconds later, the cable machine snapped on video. That gave the sequence shape. First came a sharp event near the mirror wall. It shook dust into the air. It made a sound strong enough to startle people and reach Jordan. Then the devices in that part of the room went quiet. Then Maya pulled against a cable already carrying load. The damaged strand failed when the tension peaked. The old version had the cable as the beginning. The new version had the cable as the visible ending. I printed the raw data and set it beside the video still. For the first time, the folder did not accuse one machine. It accused the room. The contractor found it behind the mirrors. A loose mounting rail ran 12 feet along the wall. It held the decorative panels, not the structure. Nobody had listed it as fitness equipment. Nobody had inspected it with the machines. The rail had been vibrating for months. Bass from classes, dropped weights, doors shutting. Every small hit loosened it a little more. At 6:50, one end tore free. The mirror panel shifted against its brackets and slammed back hard. That was the first sound. The impact threw dust from the wall cavity. It jolted the nearby devices. It startled the members before the camera showed the cable break. Then Maya pulled the handle. The frayed cable was already weak. The shock did not cut it. It did not need to. It changed the load for a moment. A small vibration traveled through the frame into a cable already near failure. People think accidents need one cause. In reality, they often need 2 weak things meeting at the same second. A loose wall did not injure Maya alone. A bad cable did not explain the room alone. Together, they made the clip look simple, and that was the most dangerous part of it. The report changed after that. Not completely. The cable still failed. The maintenance sheet still mattered. My signature did not disappear because a wall moved. But the lesson became larger than one bad machine. People think a camera records what happened. In reality, it records one layer of what happened. It shows motion inside a frame. It does not show the sound arriving first. It does not show dust leaving a wall. It does not show a device losing its path to the room. Background evidence can look boring until it becomes the only honest witness. A timestamp can be wrong and still point to the right question. A silent sensor can say more than an alarm. A person turning the wrong way can reveal where danger started. That is why accidents should not be read like single pictures. They are sequences. Force moves. Sound moves. Dust moves. People move. Data moves. When those layers do not agree, the easy version is usually missing something. In our case, the system had recorded the stage. It had not recorded the actor clearly, and the difference nearly let the real hazard stay on the wall. Maya came back 2 weeks later with a sling. She did not work out. She stood near reception and looked through the glass at the empty weight room. The mirrors were gone. The wall was open. The machines sat in a row, unplugged and tagged. She asked if it had been the cable. I said yes. Then I said not only. That answer did not comfort her much. The insurer still found maintenance problems. Corporate still sent a warning. Jordan transferred to another branch before the review closed. I kept my job, but not cleanly. For months, I heard every dropped plate differently. A sharp sound no longer ended at the sound. I looked for what moved after it. People turning toward places the camera ignored. The gym reopened with new cables, new anchors, and one less mirror wall. Members noticed the brighter paint. They did not notice the added inspections. That was fine. Safety usually looks boring when it works. The old clip stayed in the folder. 12 seconds of video. Clean enough to blame one thing. Incomplete enough to almost miss the next one.